We'll be talking about it as the trailer will be launching, and we're going to be taking all of our great interviews we've done for the last 2 years and put it into a podcast. And that will be, you'll probably be, and then we're going to start having romance novelists on a podcast. Mina, how are you? And that's exciting, right?
Oh, it's really exciting. I can't wait.
You'll be on
Can't
Apple
wait.
Podcasts and everything, and we'll have that cover and let's go. But today we're going to kind of delve into deeper things with the book, deep topics, And it was interesting to look at the first question that my research team came up with. The four horsemen concept from Eton is such a strong anchor. What drew
Eton.
you?
What's an
Yeah,
Eton?
I don't know. What drew you to the dynamic, and how did you keep it fresh across multiple books?
Okay, how did I come up with the four horsemen?
Yes.
Okay, well, um, there's the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right? Well, these aren't them, but I in my crazy head, I'm thinking that this was Old English. These were all noblemen. They all rode horses. They were all friends. So I came up with the four horsemen. Initially, it was the four horsemen of the apocalypse, but I didn't want my guys to be bad, bad news. I didn't want to be bad news. I wanted them to be good guys. So I pulled that, and then I grew up a little bit around horses. My grandfather had a huge ranch, and I rode with him from very rarely, but I did. And then another friend of mine, her parents had a large ranch, and I would go out and ride with them quite a bit.
How did you decide which character gets their love story next?
Um, it kind of came pretty naturally because the very first one I wanted to write about was Martin, and he he comes from something personal. So I knew Martin. And then Martin had a really good friend. Martin and Frederick, they grew up together. Um, so they knew each other since they were leading strings. So it was normal for me to write about Frederick next. And then I had introduced the girl that was kidnapped as John's love interest. So he came in third. And then Henry. And he's such a sweet man, but he's a badass.
Do you write with the ending in mind, or does it evolve as you go?
It kind of, well, it's going to be a happily ever after. It's because it's a romance. But see what's going on in my head right now as far as the ending for Henry has to do with Helen. Helen was terribly beaten, terribly. She had no facial distinctions when she was beat. So she has amnesia. Um, and so she doesn't know who did what to her. She has no idea. And what my I'm thinking that something's going to trigger her memory, but I don't know if Henry, is he going to kill this person? Is he going to just beat him to a pulp? Um, I'm trying to decide exactly how Henry's going to handle it because Henry's a badass. Of the four, he's the sweetest, but he can be very um,
Right.
bad, badass.
So when you write with an ending in mind, or does it evolve as you go?
um, it kind of evolves somewhere about midway through the book. I figure out the ending, and maybe not the specifics, but generally, you know, I like my characters kind of write the books. I just type it up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is quite interesting when you think about how to come up with an ending. And that's where it's gonna be interesting where AI goes. And you're gonna find out that life can be easier with AI. It can reproduce literally all your book covers, by the way, and come
Oh,
up with things. So I'll have to show you some of those things. All right. How do you keep track of historical detail across multiple books in the series?
um, I have what do they call those? It's been so long since I've used one. You know, when you go to higher education and you have like not a booklet that where you have to write about a story or an assignment, you know, and you have to do all this research and everything. Well, every book that I write has a section where I look up details like the lakes and streams in Surrey Hills, or um, bookstores in London, or the different categories of prostitutes. I have a section where I keep all that, and another section on each book of who's who, because it's not just the two lead characters, but it's their friends, their staff, butlers, cooks. They get involved in this as well. They, the footman, the coachman. In book two, Frederick has a very close relationship with Max, who is his coachman. So you have to remember those things because they're going to come across. Now, Max, the coachman, is in book four. Uh, you have to remind the reader who they are, and if they haven't read the whole series, then it has to be independent, but better if you've read all the books in a sequence.
It makes sense for sure. But the historical detail across the books is you're able to keep track of that through what strategies?
I write it down. I write everything down. I don't, and I can't. I could put it in my computer, but I want it so I can mark that out or add to it. It just, it's like some people I talk to, some readers, I tell them, um, you can get this book on for your iPad. No, no, I want to be able to hold it in my hand. And I I think, well, you know, with today you could get it right there and just flip the pages on your computer. But and then there's other people now that don't want to read a book at all. They want to hear it. And you know, I think I need to think about doing that.
What's the biggest misconception readers have about the Regency Victorian era that you try to correct or highlight in your books?
I know that that era has been highly romanticized, and I like it too. But I try to put in there the difficulties or the things that they had to deal with on a daily basis that, you know, you and I would be going, really? Toilet paper? Where they had to go to the bathroom? Um, chamber pots?
No, thank you.
What?
But so would you rather live in a lifestyle now or be a princess in that time period?
Um, geez. Well, there was certainly advantages to being a princess, but unless you were the queen, like Queen Elizabeth, um, it, even a princess had no rights. Once she got married, she was chattel. Um, Her husband could do whatever he wanted with her, um, outside of murder, and sometimes they could get away with that. If if she was not compliant or not doing things the way he liked, he'd have her committed to an asylum. And you know how bad those things were back then? Awful. Um, a woman couldn't get divorced. A man could, but a woman, if she tried to get divorced, it had to go through Parliament, and they never sided with the woman. And if you did get divorced or if you left, the children stayed with the man because the children belonged to him. So being a woman back then, with few exceptions, really kind of sucked.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So for sure. Okay. So you wouldn't. Okay. Maybe Queen Elizabeth, but maybe not. Got it. Has a reader ever pointed out a detail you missed or thought you missed?
I have had I've had readers say, you left out a word or something like that, but I've never had anybody tell me that my historical facts were wrong.
Okay.
Which
All
is
right.
which is really good because
And the best place people can go is very simply minavalentine.com. Pick up the books. They're all available on Amazon. Check Mina out on TikTok as she goes live. She better go live every day for at least 15 to 20 minutes. And I've learned some specific things from a TikTok expert or semi TikTok expert that there's things that you have to let your audience know. And just posting content, that's not going to do it. You got to go live. All right. I'll
yeah.
talk to you later. All right. That was
I
a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Mina Valentine